guys, welcome to my channel, and in today's video we are going to make this drawing using the AutoCAD. So first of all, we are going to start with the center circle over here, which has a diameter of 25, and the inner one also has a diameter of 15. So we can choose to work with both diameters, or we use the radius. So I will go with the radius. So you come to your AutoCAD, you pick your circle 2, and the radius of a diameter of 25 is going to be 12.5. So you have this, and then you zoom in. So from here, you pick your circle 2 again, you find the center, you stand there, and the second one was of a radius of a diameter of 15. So its radius is going to be 7.5. So you input 7.5, then you press enter. So you are going to have something like this. Now when we are done with this, you pick your line tool, because we are going to work on this circle over here, and this circle is inclined at an angle of 15 degrees. So you pick your line tool and we work on that. But first of all, make sure you have your center lines. Make sure you have your center lines to make the drawing easier for you. So we first make our center lines. We have this, and then we have this too. Yeah, so you make your center line. You have this, and you can also have this. You extend it to any amount you want. Okay, we also have this. So now we are going to work on our inclined angle of 15 degrees. So you click the center, and then you move this way. Now we can see it is inclined at an angle of 25. You can adjust it with the mouse, or you press the tab key. You can adjust it with the mouse if you want, or you press the tab key and you type in 15 to get your degrees over here. You see 15 is showing over here. So you use the tab key to navigate the angle, then you input your 15, then you press enter. So we are going to have our 15 degrees over here. And also I'm going to delete this line, because this line we are going to work with a distance of 65. With a distance of 65. So we pick our line tool, we stand in the center again, pick our line tool, we stand in the center, and then we hover here, we type in 65, and then you press enter. Then you move it up here to cut the line. From here you can trim this out to get something like this. Now if we have something like this, we are going to work on these two circles, which one has a radius of 5 and a diameter of 10, and the bigger one has a radius of 13. So we are going to work with that one. So when drawing the circle, you pick your circle tool, you click on the center, and then you input your 13. Then we draw the inner one with a radius of 5. So you click on the center and you input your 5. So we are going to have something like this, just like this in the picture. So now we are going to draw our bigger circles, and we know the outer circle is 76. The outer circle is 76, and the inner one with a broken center lines is 63, a radius of 63. So we work on that. So you pick your circle tool, and then you click on the middle, then you input your 76. Now you pick your center tool, you pick your circle tool again, you move to by layer over here, and then you change it to center 2. You change it to center 2. So you click here, and then the dimension was 63. So you input 63 over here, and then you press enter. So now we are going to have something like this over here. This is exactly what we are going to get. So from here we have this circle over here inclined at an angle of 105. So we are going to make this angle, the 105 angle, we are going to create it. So to begin with that, you are first going to pick your line tool, and then you change here to by layer because we change it to center too. So you change it to by layer. So you click here, and then you take it up, you click on tab, then you use 105, then you press enter. So we are going to have something like this. So we are now going to work on this circle right here and this circle right here, where the center lines are going to meet. So first of all, to find this center here, to find this circle here, sorry, and this circle here, we all know the distance from here to here is 10. So that means the distance from the center here to the top circle here is 5, and the distance from here to here is also 5. So to get the distance from here to here is going to be the 63 plus 5, and to get the distance from here to here is going to be 63 minus 5, which you are going to get the top one to be 68 and the down one to be 58. So we do that. So pick your circle tool, you input 68, you pick your circle tool again, input 58. So we are going to end up with something like this, and then we erase to make our drawing look nicer. So I'll first extend this line here. So now we erase to make our drawing look nicer. So you trim, you can trim here, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here. Sorry. But once again, if you trim this side, let's first trim this side. Let's trim here, let's trim here, let's trim here, and then we trim here. Let's maintain this for the meantime. So over here, this arc over here is 10, right? Yeah, so we are going to use that 10. It is a diameter of 10, so its radius is going to be 5. So we pick our circle tool, we find the center, pick our circle tool, we find the center. The center should be on the broken lines, the line, the angle intersecting the broken line over here. So you input your radius of 5 because that arc is 10. From the down to the top is 10. So the radius is going to be 5. Then you input your 5. So now you are going to have your circle touching both the top and then the down. Now, we also know that this whole thing over here has a radius of 13. So we are going to do that. We pick the circle to we stand in the same center, and then we input our 13. So we are going to have something like this, right? Good. So now we pick our trim tool, we erase here, we erase here, we erase here, we erase here, and then we are going to have something like this. So we will be able to work with this. So from here, we are going to do this over here. So we are going to draw a circle with a radius of 50. We are going to draw a circle with a radius of 50. So let's do that. You pick your circle tool, you stand at the center here, you input your 50, and then you press enter. So we are going to have something like this. So you can trim, you trim here, and then you trim here. Good. So we are going to end up having something like this. So from here, since we have our 50 and our 50, we are also going to make a bisection with 25. So the bisection, you pick the tan radius. When you pick your tan radius tool, you click here and then you click here and you input your radius of 13. We are going to have something like this. Let's zoom in. And then you pick the same tool again you click here, and then you click here, then you input 25. You are going to have something like this. Now let's change the color of the circles in order not to confuse us. So the circle with the radius of 25, you click on it, and then you change the color of the layer. Let's change the color of the layer to color yellow, so it's not going to confuse us. And this center line over here, let's change the color to color red. So we are going to have color red over here. So now let's work with this. Now we are going to trim. You pick your trim tool, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here also. Let's zoom out. You trim here, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here, and you also trim here. Now we are going to zoom into this side to trim that side also. So you zoom in, you are going to have something like this. So you trim here, and then you trim here also. So we are going to have something like this, right? So first of all, let me go back again. So when you are trimming, you first trim here, and then you trim here, you trim here also, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here, and then you trim here, you trim here also. You zoom in, and then you trim this, you trim this side, you trim here. Yeah, so I think this is how it's going to look like. So from here, we move on again. Since we have that, now we are going to make a mirror image of this, but then let's first trim this side. Let's first trim here, and then we are going to pick the line tool, and then you pick offset. So you come and type in your radius of 13. You press enter, and this radius of 13 is from here to here. So you do that, and then you click on this line and you adjust it this way. You make sure you have this one on, your radius of 13. So you just point it to this side, so the distance is going to be 13. You do the same thing for here. Sorry, you do the same thing for here and here. So you use your this one, you do the same thing for here and here. So you are going to get the same thing over here. You click here, so you pick your trim tool, you trim here, trim here, you trim here, you trim this, you trim this, trim this, you trim this, and then you trim this, and you also trim this, you trim this, and you trim that. So you are going to end up with something like this. You trim the inner part too, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here. You can also trim this side off, and you are going to end up with something like this on the left side. We trim here, 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 you zoom in, and then you trim here also. We trim here, we trim here, we trim here, we trim here, you zoom in again, you trim here, 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 here, trim here, trim here, trim here, and then you trim here, you trim here also. So now you pick your tan radius circle, you click here, and then you input 25. So now pick your trim tool again, you trim this side, you trim here, you trim here, you trim here. So you are going to end up having something like this. You can trim this side away. Let's trim all this side away. So we are going to end up having something like this. So we trim this line also out, trim this out, and then we trim this out. So we are going to mirror everything we have here. You can wash it out, wash it out. So we are going to mirror all this. To mirror all this, you press your escape key since the trim command is active, and then you select here, 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 you select here again, you select here, select everywhere, you select here, you select here. So we trim this line off, and then we press the escape key again, we select everything over here, select, you select everything excluding this. So we go select this, select here, select here, choose here, select here, select here also, select here, you select here, sorry, you select here, you select here, you select here. After this, you click on mirror, and then you click on the center here. You move your mouse this way to get something like this, and then you click, make sure it's accurate, and then you click. You are going to end up having something like this, right? So now there is an arc over here of radius 8 centimeters. So we do that. To pick your tan radius circle, you pick your tan radius circle, you click this side, and then you click this side, and it has a radius of 8. So you input your 8, you press enter. Now you trim it again. You trim here, you trim here. Now we have our diagram this way. Then after that, you can make your dimension. Okay guys, so thank you for watching my video, and then if you have any problem or you need any help, you can put it down in the comment section and I will get to you. Thank you. See you in my next video.